Hi everyone, it's Mike here, welcome back. So on a recent shopping trip with Mother to one of our kind of home decor kind of stores here in the UK, I noticed when I was looking at the art section, the ready-made art section, that there was a lot of kind of mixed media, abstracty kind of artworks for sale that just looked as though they'd been made with texture, mostly just things stuck on and then painted over with a paint effect. And I think today I'm going to try and do something kind of similar, but only using what I have. Not going to buy anything else. I haven't bought anything else. I'm just going to use the resources that I've already got. And to create texture, I'm just going to use some corrugated cardboard from some dog food packaging. So that's all I'm going to use today, with some paint and a bit of gesso, which I've already got. I've already got loads of paint I don't use often enough. So they really do need using up. So that's what I'm going to do today. So as I've said, I'm going to be using this dog food box, but I'm also going to be working in my 12 by 12 journal, which is quickly coming to an end. I found a page that for some reason I'd actually slipped through, so I'm going to use this one up today. So before I do anything else, I'm going to put that to one side and just bring that packaging back in, and I'm going to cut it up. And I do have a cutting mat somewhere. There we go. So hopefully this isn't going to make everything too bright. Oh, excuse the coffee. It's thirsty work, all this talking. So literally I'm just going to cut the box up. There we go. And then I'm just going to cut it, just using a craft knife or scalpel. So just separate the pieces so that they're just easier to work with. And now I've got plenty of bits in which to build up some texture. So some bits I'll keep, some bits I won't. So we'll keep those bits. And I'm just dropping the bits that I don't want straight into my waste paper basket. There we go. Better. And just grab the other piece. Get rid of that. Get rid of that. And then we've got these 4 pieces here. Okay, so I've now got a little pile of corrugated cardboard, or thick double-walled cardboard anyway, which is going to be really good for gluing down and building up layers of texture. So I'm going to spend a couple of minutes just creating some squares. I'm not particularly bothered if it's if there's a little bit of roughness to the pieces. There we go. So let's make a few small ones. I think my scalpel blade probably needs changing. I mean, you could just do this with scissors if you wanted to, just cutting small squares. There we go, just create a pile. Okay, so I'll carry on just creating a pile of bits, and I'll join with you again when I think I've got enough. We've used a couple of different methods for cutting up, and I ended up cutting some bigger pieces and a lot of smaller pieces. Now, as I started to do all this, I started getting an idea of what I could use these pieces for in my project. Now, originally I was going to create some kind of abstract kind of tree, and I was going to use these squares to build up the texture for the actual foliage on the tree. But while I was cutting these, I kept thinking about windows and buildings. So I think what I might do instead is actually create a cityscape. So with that being in mind, let's get rid of my cutting mat now and bring my journal back in. I need a little bit of a plan as to where my skyline's going to be and where my buildings are going to go. So I think pretty much, I think my horizon line I should stick to about there, which is fine by me. So what this means then is I can now start to build up texture down here, start laying down some layers. I kind of want them to be close together, and then start layering on top. I think I'm kind of happy with that. But just bring most of them down here. Okay, so I need some glue. Right, so I've got my tube of spirit glue, and then all I'm going to do is I'm just going to start adding some glue down. This is going to be a bit of a dribbly process. You see it's already starting to kind of flow out. It's because I squeezed it and got rid of the air. That'll do. I'm not being brilliantly and overly precise. I'm working quickly. And you can use whatever glue you like. Obviously, it's your project. I'm just working, like I said, working quickly. I'm not really giving myself too much time to think. So working kind of intuitively. And we'll just use some of those smaller pieces just to kind of fill in a few gaps. Okay, let's pop that glue away for a second. I know we've got a few bits down here, so let's just utilise those and start sticking on some smaller bits. I'm not too bothered about the glue kind of like spilling over, because it can just be rubbed away. It's only spirit glue, so just by rubbing your hands together it's going to fall away. Right, so I've got a smaller container with some of the same glue in, so now I'm just going to use some of those smaller ones. And I know these kind of like faux windows are going to be a bit too big, but that doesn't matter. Like I said, I'm just trying to build up texture. I don't know whether you can hear dogs in the background, but our neighbours have bought a trampoline for the kids, except they have two black Springer Spaniels that have suddenly taken a liking to the trampoline, and the dogs themselves have been jumping up and down on it and having a whale of a time, thoroughly enjoying themselves, bouncing themselves up and down and barking while they do it. It's very quite fun to watch. Right, let's make some smaller ones. Let's grab some smaller scissors. I'm just going to create some smaller squares. We'll just start infilling with smaller bits. There we go. Right, I'm going to carry on sticking these bits of cardboard down, building up the texture. So I'll probably go into fast forward, put some music on, and you can watch as I start to layer all these bits together. Okay, I think there's probably enough texture on there. So what I need to do, obviously as I've been doing this, it's been setting. So I just want to do a little bit of decoration on the top, and then I think I'm going to be fairly sort of happy. So I've just got a few little bits that I want to add on. Just because we can. Okay, let's put that one over there. And then we've got a real nice long piece here. I can't remember the last time I did a cityscape. It was a long time ago, I think. At least a year ago. Probably longer. Right, so for the first time I think we'll add something that isn't square. So let's add a piece there, and then we'll get a square piece, and then let's cut a triangle. I'll just pop a little piece in there. And then put a piece there. And I think I'm going to call that done. So again, I want to let it dry for a minute or two. Just use that other triangle piece. And then we'll come back in and we can start adding some colour. Love it. I've given the cardboard a good 20 minutes or so just to kind of set and dry. So now I've got some gesso. So I've got some black gesso and some white gesso. So these are, I think, apart from one other colour, I think these are pretty much the only two colours that I'm going to want to use on this art journal page. So I've got some black gesso, which I'm going to give everything a good kind of coating, including the background. So we'll get down the sides. The black gesso will hide a multitude of sins, but I'm not trying to get complete and utter full coverage. Don't Don't mind it being a bit patchy. Got a visitor. It's a warm day again today, so I think it's probably the warmest it's been so far. So I've got the doors open, the windows open, just get a bit of airflow going into the house. Dogs are able to just wander in and out at will, which also means I don't have to keep running downstairs to let them out whenever they need to go for the wee-wees. And the downside obviously is that bumblebees and flies and stuff can just come straight in. I keep saying to Ian about getting one of those fly things that, you know, flies don't like flying through, like strips of fabric or whatever for the door, but he doesn't like them. So we have conversations regularly about, well, what other ways are there in which to stop the flies from coming in? It never gets resolved. You know, when I get towards the top, I am just mixing the gesso with a little bit of water, just to kind of get a different sort of coverage on the sky. Yeah, that one's a bit loose, so we may have to go in and do a little bit of remedial sticking down. But I kind of expected to do at least one or two of the pieces. His ears must have been burning. Excuse me, that's Ian. Sorry about that. Ian's working today, so he's just taking 5 minutes out just to ring for a chat. Okay, so all I was doing, like I was saying, was just adding in just a touch of water into the gesso, into the sky, just to kind of get it a bit mottled, not quite so uniform. There we go. Alright, so yeah, that piece there has come loose, so you probably can't see it because it's probably too dark and a bit too monotone now that it's got its first coat of gesso. But that looks like, yeah, first coat. So I'll just make those few repairs, let this dry, and I can come back and add a second coat, but I don't know whether you can see the texture. There you go, that's better. That's much better. Right, back in a little while. That's all dry now, including that little piece that was loose. So now I'm opening the white gesso. So I'll just give this a bit of a stir. Okay, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to mix in with the black to get a grey, maybe a little bit darker. There we go, that should do. So what I'm going to do now is I'm just going to go over the actual building itself, or the buildings themselves, just sort of dry brushing. just using that mixture of the grey. And all it's kind of doing is just highlighting the texture. Not only of the cardboard pieces, well, of the buildings if you like, but also in reality the actual texture of the cardboard. You can see the lines in the cardboard. And again, a little bit lighter down towards the bottom. You find in a scene like this, there'll be probably more light towards the bottom anyway, but it's just a fun little exercise. So now we've got that kind of texture there, I'm going to add a little bit more. Be very careful not to pick up too much. Just kind of into that background. Just lighten the sky up just a little, just to kind of give the impression of maybe just clouds or something. Right, so just give the brush a quick rinse. I'm going to come back in with some just pure white gesso this time. Just kind of pick up on the windows. I'm kind of keeping the strokes trying to all go sort of in the same direction. Almost like they're reflecting the light back off each other. Over the years I've done quite a few kind of cityscapes. All been mega fun to do. Now, right, this gesso is kind of blending more so. That flies back again. So we're not getting too much white. But that's okay. God, it's buzzing around something chronic. It's reacting with the black quite a lot. And obviously going grey. That's okay, that's fine. Like I said, I am trying to go across in kind of a diagonal. Just pick up a little bit of fly's joined by a friend now. Right, so I'm now going to put that black and white away, dry this off, and then I'll be right back. Alright, so the white gesso has dried quite nicely. So what I wanted to do was just to introduce a little bit of warmth into the painting. So I've gone into my metallic paints collection and I've got a pot of Brass Monkey, which is a yellowy kind of gold colour. It's kind of gold with a hint of green, but gold paint sometimes can be quite orangey, golden gold, if you know what I mean. Yeah, I know. Whereas brass is a bit more kind of yellowy, with just a hint of kind of green to it. So this is a fairly new pot. Well, it is a new pot, I've just had to open it, but I've had it in my stash for quite some time. So it all kind of separated, which is what happens with paint sometimes. The binders separate. There's no filler, just but the binder has separated from the pigment. Right, so what I want to do is I'm just going to pick up some of the brass and then kind of almost wipe it off again completely. And this time I'm just going to dry brush just on the windows. Try not to get any on the background at all. And I'm not trying to get faithful kind of all coverage. I don't want blanket coverage. I just want a hint of the gold hitting, I say gold, the brass or the metallic, just hitting those kind of window panes. Hello, Mr. Nippy. Mr. Nip's just come to see me. I think the fly's annoying him. It's annoying me, to be honest. Okay, so even though the doors are open downstairs, the dogs still come up and ask me whether they can go out, because that's what we've trained them to do, to ask when they need to go out. So even when the doors are actually open, they still come and ask. They don't go and check first because that's not what dogs do. Yeah, one of them's gone downstairs. Nippy's still behind me, so that must be Bentley then. By process of elimination, if Nippy's behind me, it must have been Mr. Bentley. So I'm going harder on some than on others, because obviously not every window would be lit. Some would still be dark. Particularly the penthouse ones. Just working out that pigment. There we go. I think sometimes when you're working with mixed media, obviously you don't have to be perfect. Abstraction you know, you're only meant to give the impression. And I think I've got that kind of impression there now. So let me just quickly wash off, clean off. I'll try and persuade this fly to go back outside. I don't like using fly sprays, but if necessary, if needs must, and it won't go away. Right, so I shall let that dry. Oh, lights come on. It has to be in, doesn't it? Right, I'll be right back. Okay, just want to finish off with one last thing, and I'm sure you can guess what's going to happen next. I'm going to just cover the top part of those buildings up a little bit. Grab one of my brushes, a little bit of that white gesso. There we go. Touch of water. A little bit more. And then we'll just add a few stars in the sky. Not quite watery enough. That'll do. Let's not go mad. I think actually that white gesso might be past its best. It is one of the very, very old ones, so I think it may be worthwhile popping that in the bin. I do have a newer one with a new label, so I don't know why I've still got that one. There we go, so we've got some nice kind of stars in the sky, and I think that's about it. I'm happy with that. There's a little bit of a play with more texture, just using what you already have to create a nice kind of, look at that, lights off, lights on. Just to create a kind of abstract picture. Like I said, originally I was going to do a tree and use little square pieces of cardboard to create the tree, but it just seemed natural to turn it into a cityscape. So there you go. So I hope you've enjoyed watching me create this art journal page, this textured art journal page. We're still playing with texture. If you have, please remember to give the video a thumbs up because it really does help the channel. Don't forget you can share the video with your friends, and also if you haven't subscribed to my YouTube channel already, to get more videos on art journaling and mixed media just like this one, then all you have to do is hit that subscribe button at the end of the video. That's all from me for now. I'll see you all again very, very soon. Bye for now. I'd like to say a huge thank you to all of my angels, because without you, these videos would not be possible. And don't forget you can access your exclusive angel-only content over on my website. There's a link in the description area below. Thank you.